Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. We welcome all of you to the Church of Pentecost IT Guild online platform. Okay, this is our second lesson of the software development training program, and as we started introduction to computer and its programming, and we learned about what computer means, the component of computer, where we do mention about hardware, software, and then humanware, and we talk about hardware, which is a physical component of computer, and we came to the humanware, that is a person using the computer, and then we talk about the software, which is our main focus, which is a set of instruction of a computer, because we are instructing our software, our system to do what we as a programmer is expecting our system to do for us. Remember, IT is about garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you feed your system, that is what it gives you back. And the next item that we learned was a type of softwares, where we have the application software and then the system software. Then we talk about the product of softwares that we are expecting, that's a bespoke software and then the generic software. Today we are introducing ourselves to the common element in programming language, and then when we talk about the common element in programming language, we are actually talking about what actually made up of a programming language as a programmer, as a beginner, what you're supposed to understand at this stage. So we actually want to group this into 5 major types. When you do research, there are a lot of them, but we want to group them into 5 major types, where we have our syntax, we have our keywords, and then we have the punctuation, and we have the punctuation, and then the programmer defined identifier. The last one we have operators. Okay, so this is what we have. Now, when we talk about syntax, what is a syntax? So syntax are rules that control the structure of statement or grammar in a computer language. So in a human world, when we are talking about syntax, what we understand in human world means grammar. So just put it in your mind that when we say syntax in human world, we say grammar. Okay, and what is a grammar? Grammars are rules that govern a language, and in our world there are some, when you are speaking, there are a way that you are supposed to talk. There are words that you are not supposed to use. When you use it, your parent will shut you down. So these are the rules that govern that particular language that you are trying to use. Then your parents try to correct you. In IT too, the same thing applied here. When we are talking about the syntax, we are also talking about the programming language, the rules that govern our programming language. In computer language, we want to classify this computer language into 2, which we will give more details about it. One is a human language, and then the second one is a machine language. A human language can refer as a high level language, and then the machine language can refer to as a low level language. Anytime you hear machine language, it's a language understood by only the programming, the machine or the computer you are using. And then when we talk about the high level language, it's a language that is understood by human being. What I'm speaking to you now is a human language, a high level language. What I've written on the screen is a human language. You read, you understand. But when it comes to the machine language, there is no way you understand. I hope you are with me. And when we talk about the syntax and we want to go further, syntax, we have we all have seen the word syntax in our secondary schools. When sometimes you are trying to do some input with your calculator, when you try to punch something, you see on your screen syntax error. What in a real world, that's what they are trying to tell you is a grammatical mistakes you have made or grammatical errors. When we come to IT2, we are not going to say grammatical errors, we are going to say syntax. When we talk about the syntax and computer language, there are a lot of languages that we all speak. When you come to the human world, someone speak Hausa, someone speak Fante, someone speak what the person speak. When it comes to IT too, we have a lot of languages that everybody speak in IT. Personally, IT language I speak a lot of IT language. some of the IT language that we all know is about this the HTML, the C++, the C#, the Python, the Flutter, and the rest. There are a lot of them. So you when the time comes, you go into detail. The language that we are learning in this platform is C++. That is what we are learning. Why C and C++? C and C++ serve as the foundation for all programming. I would say they are the grandfathers of all programming language. Any other language you have heard in this world, pick their syntax or their inspiration from these two, C and C++. Okay, the C++ is the improved version of the C language. Please, if you have time, read into this detail, because when you get it, you can do that. As I said already, this is COP platform. Main aim is to champion the kingdom business through technology, and together we all possess nations. Let me move to the second one, which we are moving on. That's the second one, which is the keywords. When we talk about keywords are what? Reserved words. So when we talk about reserved words are words that you are not supposed to use in any of in the programming or any aspect of your life in programming when you are using a particular language. When we come to the real world or a human environment, there are some certain words that when you are talking to your parent or someone who is older than you, are not supposed to use. The moment you use that word, those words, they can shut you down, because these words are words that you are not supposed to use. When it comes to IT, we have the same thing. I would like to introduce you to some basic keywords. We have something like int, which means integer. We have something like namespace, which serve as a mediator to prevent confusion between two variables in your application. And then we have something called string, which serve as any input that if you check my screen now the screen, you can see the screen. You can now see words in your screen. All these words are classified as string. In a human world, the word string in human world means text. So if you are telling somebody, I want to send a text message, what you are trying to tell as an IT person is that I'm sending string. You get it right. So these are some of the, as we introduce ourselves to the syntax at the beginning, programming language, these are one of the rules you are supposed to follow. And then we come to the third one, which is the punctuation. Punctuation, when we talk about punctuation, I will introduce you two basic symbols that we use, and that one we use it to terminate. Punctuation helps us to terminate our application, tell our application that okay, execute at this point, or we have end what we are doing. So it helps you to terminate or run your application. We introduce ourselves to two, which is one, and then the other symbol is this. Okay, these are the two symbols I will introduce to you at this level. These are the two symbols that I will introduce at this level. So let me move to the next one, which is programmer defined identifiers. When we talk about programmer defined identifiers, who is a programmer? Programmer is a person who writes the softwares. Okay, programmer is a person who writes the softwares. Someone who code, a software developer, can refer to us as a programmer. So a programmer, this, if you look at right now, I'm using Microsoft Word. The one who built this software can be referred to us as what? A programmer. So when we talk about defined is about the programmer, what the person did for you so that you use. So what the person is defining for you, the platform the person is giving you to use, that is the programmer defined. The identifiers here is, we are talking about variables, and variables, when we talk about variables are a storage location in our computer memory, okay, holding data. Okay, in other definition, people say variable holds data in our memory. So what is a variable? You, human being, a human world, everybody is a variable. When you are sitting in your classroom, that small space that you are occupying in your classroom becomes you are a variable occupying a place, and you are holding something. So if you are watching me right now, where you are now being referred to as what? Variable. This is a spelling of variable. This is a variable that we are talking about. This is variable. And when we are talking about variable, we talk about what we call data type. Data type. We talk about what we call data type. When we talk about the data type, let me give an example. In a real world, when you pick your mobile phone and you want to send a message, okay, if you want to text a message to somebody, maybe I'll be coming to school at 2 p.m. and this time, text message tells you that you need two input. One is where you type your message, and then the other one is where you type the person's number. So when you are declaring your variable, there are two things you should consider as a programmer, as a software developer, as a programmer defined. You want to define, you have to consider two basic things. In a human world, what you have to consider is the information I'm giving out. Is it about text or is it about number? So let me clean this and type, is it about text or is it about number? Okay. Is it about text or is it about number? Note, anything that is a number, okay, anything that is a number in IT could refer to as either this int, float, double, and the rest. As I said, we are not going to detail, we just want you to pick the basic concept. And then when anything we refer as text in IT field, we say that is called string. So this is what I'm trying to let you understand. So as you get to know this and you are defining this, know that you are defining your variables in your memory. Now let's give another example about this. I want to send a text message, or I want to write a software that asks, I want to write a software as a programmer defined identifiers. I want to write a software about myself. Okay, so my software takes two information. One, the first question is, what is your name? What is your name? The answer I'm expecting from you as what is your name, what is it? It's called, okay, the answer I'm expecting from you, what I'm expecting from you is two answers I'm expecting from you. Either you answer me as a text or you answer me as a number. So what is your name? Is it text or number? Okay, you all know that it's a text. What is your name? Because the name, my name, let me say my name is Kwesi Osei. So Osei is a text. Okay, how old are you? Maybe I'm 100 years old. It's a text. It's a number. It's no more. It's not a text. So anything number in IT field, you could refer the numbers as this, which I have highlighted, either int, float, or double. The difference is that the int is integer. Integer always give us a whole number, that is positive and negative number. Then the float to give us numbers with the decimal place, but sometimes it's summarizes for you. So in real sense, let me take off the float out and leave only the int and then the double. The double will give us anything that we want. Let me give you as an example. Just imagine you went to the bank and your money in your bank is about 35,000 point something, and you went to the bank to check your balance and the point something has gone and it left only the 35,000. What are you going to tell your bank? Definitely you conclude by saying the bank has stolen you. But the truth is, most of these problems are not coming from the bank. Sometimes it's coming from the programmers, because if you don't use the right data type, you omit some of them. So a typical example is what I'm using. If you know that whatever input, which is the numbers you're expecting from your client, they will actually input decimals in it. First, you should use something like double to hold your data for you. You should use double to hold your data as a programmer. When we learn database, there are other ways of you holding this number. So use double to hold the data. But if you know that, okay, what is your name? Nobody named, how old are you? Nobody age is, my age is 58.20. It's a whole number. So you should use integer for that. Note that as a programmer, before a client will think, you should thought. Before you pick your WhatsApp phone and start WhatsApping, sending message, the programmer has already thought your mind, or the programmer already think ahead of you that okay, one day you need this, you need that. So always know. So if you don't consider this as a programmer, that okay, the information I'm giving out, is it what the final input? Am I expecting text or am I expecting numbers? If you don't define your data type very well for it to store in your database, you always mess up your system, and clients or your customers will continue disturbing you that oh, your system is no good. We all sometimes complain online telling people that their system is no good or not. So what I want you to understand is when we talk about programmer define identifier, we are talking about variables, and when we talk about the variable holds data in our memory, and if you are holding data, we are talking about data type, and the data type we are referring to as either the data type is a string or is an integer or is a double. So this is how you define your data type in your memory for your client to follow. This is how you define. So right now, as a software developer, as a programmer as a programmer who I want to define something for my client to use, I want to define something to show that what is the person's name. You just type string, and then you give a space, and then you give let me say my question is what is your name, because that's a software that we are building called myself. So what is your name? So I will use the word NME to stand for what is your name. Somebody will ask, NME, does this means what is your name? What you should understand is during the introduction I said something about in programming language we have the high level and then the low level. There are languages which is only understood by the computer alone. So far as you define this and define that, the software is only looking at this. Let me give you an example. When you go online to fill a form, and you start filling the form, your name, what you are coming, where you come from, and the registration form. Remember, the form you are filling, the software is not looking about the information on the screen or on the screen or on the online that the programmer has defined for you. The software is looking about the variables that the system has defined, the programmer has defined, the data type that the programmer has defined to hold that information for you in your database. So now my definition is what is your name? You see, very long sentence. Let me try to type it here. Defining a software called what is your name? What is your name? So this is a software we have defined. What is your name? So what is your name? This is a very long name. The software is not looking about what is your name. Remember, this one now has turned to be a high level language, a human language that can only be understood by human being. Are you with me? So we need to define something to hold it. So what you, the developer, will do, because our answer is a text, you just define anything called string. You type string and then space, and then use anything to represent. So I can use something like NM to represent. So anytime the person see what is your name and the person go to the browser or anything and input, or your mobile phone input whatever name the person will input in your software development, this is what is represent that field that the person is developing. As usual, this is just theoretical part of what we are doing. We go into details when we start with our practicals in our next video. So defining string, this is how it is. Now my next question is, how old are you? Okay, how old are you? So how old are you? As a programmer, I need to just go by saying int, because how old, I know it's a number. You can't say how old are you. We need numbers for that. So how old are you? I say maybe 12 years, 15 years, 30 years, 35 years, 40 years. So let's say 12 years, but I don't write it 12. You need to use something to hold that answer. So how old are you? We can use something like age. Please, when you are behind the scene, there is nothing like spelling mistake. So if I even type this to stand for my age, the system will accept. Remember, we learn about instructions. When you instruct your system, you instruct it how the system should behave for you. I hope you are getting me. You instruct your system how the system should behave for you. So I will use int age to represent anything about age for me. And note that when you are building your form, all these things should be defined once. You are not supposed to repeat this again. If not, there will be conflict in your course, in that particular place that you are writing. Even when you try to repeat this again, they will tell you maybe the variable defined or the variable is already used. Okay, if you also type something that is not found when we started the practical, I think one of you showed me something. When the person typed, instead of 0, the person used O, and then there was a message like a variable not declared. So if you have not declared your variable, what it means is you cannot use it. So you have to make sure you declare. Okay, so that is it. The next thing that we are going to talk about is how do we still implement this age. Okay, that is where when we are done, you need to display or you need to accept input. Now let me chip this one in. Anytime you want to display as a programmer define identifiers, I wrote something like what is your name. Okay, what is your name? So what is your name is something that we want to display for our client to use. So in IT, the word display in IT is called see out, the language we are learning. So see out means display, okay, or to show something. And then the see in, and they use these two symbols. It means, let me say, input. When you are writing a software, there are two things that you intend to achieve. Either you display information for your users to use, or you let your users to input information for you. Right now, when I'm feeding any data into my system, you are trying to input something. When you pick your WhatsApp phone or the free conference call app that we are using to learn, and you enter anything into it, okay, what you are anytime you are entering something into your software, you are feeding in data. So in the C language or C++ language that we are using, when you hear the word see out, it means to display. And then when you hear the word called see in, it means to accept. So if I want to code like the example that I was given, that what is your name, so you just come here. This is how you do. Okay, let me even forget about this and just type something like what is your name. Okay, and I'll add a question mark. Note that the programmer, the person who is using your software is only going to see this. What have I highlighted is only going to see this. The person is not going to see anything. And then you, the software developer, you don't know, you are not there to pick whatever the person is going to answer for you. Okay, so you need to define a variable in your memory to hold this. So this is how you define your variable. As I said, what is your name is about string. So you just type your string here, and then you give it anything at all. I gave my own as NME. So what the NME is trying to mean is that whatever the client enter or your users enter, accept this for me. And so when it's happening like that, C in, use NME to pick that one. Please, I hope you are following this. This is how it is. So the same thing will apply to when we talk about the age. That one too, you need to ask the person. Just ask the person that maybe this simple question: how old are you? How old are you? So I need to terminate this, and then I need to accept whatever. You are not there to instruct the person what the person should. So you need to define what, as a programmer, what I'm expecting my client to enter for me is an integer. So we just start by saying int. So integer, what should I use? I'll use AGE to stand for what's your name, and then we just do CE and just type age. So this is a computer language we have learned, and this is programmer defined identifiers. We have defined our variable to hold a name for us in our memory. Okay, and how do we do it? This is a programming language a programmer has defined. This is it. We are going to do practicals on this, so very soon everybody will be able to execute softwares or execute your programs using programming language and define a lot of things. Okay, so I want to quickly, because this is just a theoretical part, let me be fast so that we go into the practicals. So I want to just leave you at this level and then move to the last one, which is the operators. Okay, when we talk about operators, what are operators? Operators are symbols that we use. Symbols that we use. They are symbols that we use in our programming language. Okay, they are symbols that we use in our programming language. So I will actually group these symbols into three major parts. We have one, or type of operators that we use. We have one, we will talk about the arithmetic operators. We talk about the logical operators, and then we talk about the rational or relational operators. Okay, so now let's pick them one after the other. When we talk about the operators, as I said, they are symbols that we use in programming language. Okay, so when we talk about arithmetic operators, what is arithmetic operators? Arithmetic operators, these are mathematical symbols that we use in our programming world, or when we are coding as a programmers. Somebody will ask you, do we have mathematics there? Yes, math is everywhere, and these are symbols that we are going to use. One of the symbols that we use is this symbol called this, which is the multiplication, and then we have this symbol which is our addition, and then we have this symbol. Let me do away with this. Let's be giving space rather. We have this symbol, and then we have this symbol. So these are the symbols that we use in mathematics. So in our arithmetic operations, this is what we are going to use. So in IT, there are calculations. As you are withdrawing your money from the bank, adding, depositing, withdrawing, there should be a mathematical calculation behind. When you pick your calculator and you start punching, you see there is a mathematics working there. IT mathematics is not like the normal mathematics that we always meet at the schools. Okay, just that you only pick the concept, the human thought concept, and then you translate it into a computer language, where if we are this time we want to focus more on the practical. If not, we need to talk about other ways of using human language to write software, that is the pseudocodes and the rest. So coming back to the arithmetic operator, these are the symbols that we use because we need to do mathematical calculation. So those of us who are always running away from maths, this time the maths is now getting back to us, so we have to prepare for that. Now let's go back to the logical operators. When we talk about the logical operators are the conditional operators. Let me put it in that way. Actually, the operators all these operators are, most of them are used for conditional statement. When you want to write conditions, when we talk about the condition, you are talking about your if this happen, give me that. That is the condition statement that we are talking about. So in this, we will classify this into three major types. We have the AND. Okay, this one I need to extend it because we need to explain it well, because this is the main thing going to help us. We have AND, we have OR, and then we have NOT. So let me try and highlight this. I'm trying to, okay, copy it and then this. So someone is asking, what is the meaning of this? Okay, this means division, the normal division symbol in IT. This is how we do mention of division. Okay, so that is it. Logical operators that we do mention, we talk about the AND or NOT. These are the symbols we use for AND. So anytime you see this in IT, these two, it means AND. Or if you see one is bitwise AND. So anytime you see this symbol, just put it in your mind that it means AND. And then when you see this symbol, this symbol means OR. And then when you see this symbol, this means NOT. So anytime we are applying this symbol, you should understand. Where do we typically use logical operators? We mostly use these logical operators. Most of the time, logical operators work with the relational operators, which from here we move to the relational operators. A typical example of where we normally use the logical operator is the learning management system. That is the software like what WAEC use for our various examination. We see the exams management system. You see that someone might score between, let me say 0 to 40, and then okay, let me rely on 0 to 40 and say maybe 80 to 100. Okay, we all know that when someone score between 0 to 40 or anything less than 40, the person has failed, or sometimes we refer as a weak pass. Okay, and when the person gets between 80 to 100 and above, we say excellent. Please, the teachers on the platform, if I'm not right, you should just comment and then let me know about this. Okay, so when you apply the AND statement, what we are trying to tell, as I said, this one follow the if condition. So when you just say that if a student score between, if the student score between 0 and less than 100, less than 40, between 0 to 40, whatever should display for the student either pass or fail. So that part we are applying in the conditional statement there. And so what you are going to say is that if the student score more than 40 and more than 0 and is less than 40, is weak pass. So that is, we're able to apply the AND condition there. If you are not getting it, you write it through the comment and you let me know that you are not getting this, then I will explain it again to you. So when we come back to the 80 to 100, we are expecting this time our software should display to us that if the student score between 80 to 100, the system should display excellent for us. So the same thing, condition come if student score is greater or equals to 80 and is less than or equals to 100, give the person excellent. I hope you are following me. So the AND condition has come. in between the 80 and the 100. So the end condition always works like this. If you meet two conditions, when A is correct and B is correct, give me the answer, right? But when you go to, let me take this opportunity to introduce us to the second one, the or two work in this way. The or means when you're looking for somebody or you are looking for these values here and the person score either 0 or 40, display the information for the person. That is about the or if one condition is met, it's okay. Okay, and all conditions should meet before you can execute a program. I hope you are getting me. If we are withdrawing for our mobile money, if our money deposited in our account is less than the money we are trying to withdraw, so the all condition comes in, the if condition, the end condition comes in. So you need to follow. What I'm trying to say is that when we talk about the all condition, the one condition should be true and then the application will execute. But when we talk about the end, two conditions must be equal before you flow. Now let's talk about the not. The not means I don't even need it at all. I hope you are getting me right. I don't even need it at all. So the program shouldn't even execute. That is about the not. Okay, when we start doing our practical, you get a lot of examples about this. So just prepare yourself for the practical. Programming is simple. That is why we say the COP members, organize yourself in your various areas. Just use the structure of the COP through your local, your district, and then your area. Then invite us. We are ready to come there to provide any assistance to you. Those of us following Pentateuch Guild who are not COP members, this is the church that we can recommend for you. Just join us. We are ready to give you the best. The Vision 2023. I think if you are ready, after this training, I will share my number on the screen. If you have any issue, you can contact me. We are ready to accept you. This is the church that is ready to give you anything at all, anything good for you to be able to possess your environment to reign people for Christ. This is a church that is ready to transform your life. Now the world is about technological world now, whether we like it or yes. So please, let's invest our time, our energy in IT. But it shouldn't be like we are using all our resources into IT. That is why a beautiful church like the Church of Pentecost is giving this training out. You won't get it any other place. This is totally free. Even in future, if we even charge anything, maybe something small, just to make sure that we keep this program running. We are ready to give the best. Just imagine you watching me. You are the best IT developer in the world. How proud we be as a church. Together you possess that your environment, and through that we can champion the kingdom business and win souls for Christ. It's all about the kingdom business. Let's all do together in order to possess nation. We shouldn't also forget to always pray for the leaders of the Church of Pentecost, so that God will continue giving them ideas like this, so that we come out with more innovative programs for all of us to benefit. This is a church you can actually trust. Thank you. So we are moving to our next one, that is the relational operators. When we talk about the relational operators, as we have already learned, these are symbols that we use in our everyday life. So some of the symbols that we use this symbol, these symbols, I'm just trying to type out. Please, the symbols are matched, so we can't use all. But when we start the practical, we introduce you to all the symbols. Okay, these are the symbols that we use. And note that IT, as we were talking about the syntax and the rest, this symbol that you are seeing here, these are all these symbols that we use in our operation. This symbol means equal to. So if you are using our AND operator, and we are trying to assign our AND operator that, okay, if Kofi and Amma equals to maybe 100, tell the person that the person has passed his exam or her exam. That is the equals to that we are using. Remember, we are IT guys. So there are things that human world understand it in different way, but we will say it in different way. This means equal to. What you guys call this? That our math teacher knows that this is equals to. No, this is not equals to. In IT, we call it assignment. Keep it in your mind. This is assignment. This is not equals to. This, as we even call it, plus. This is not plus. This is concatenation. When we get there, you understand. This brings two things together, but we can still use it in our plus in a mathematical calculation. So please know. Someone also wrote it like this. Okay, this means false. When we get there, you understand it. So it's either true or false. So you should understand. Know that in IT world, what human being thinks in another way. That's why we have a computer language there, or machine language. We will understand things in different way. So these are some of the symbols that. So this means equals to. This one is the normal less than that we know, less than, and then this is the greater than, and this is less than or equals to, and this is the greater than or equals to symbol. We will use this in our conditional statement, where we are going to define our if statement and even introduce ourselves to the switch statement using our symbols into that. If you have any other question, you can write to me. I want to just go over as we finish the introduction to element of programming. When we talk about element of program, basically we are talking about the what actually made up of the programming language. Okay, you're a software developer, you want to be a champion, the best software developer in the world. Please, you should always know that when we are talking about IT man or a software developer, you shouldn't be a backyard IT developer. You should be somebody that you should be able to produce something tangible. IT Guild, we have a lot of things we have built now, a lot. If you are inside any wherever you find yourself and you don't even have the church management system to run your application, you can contact the IT Guild. We have it for you for free, and even with something small that you give it to us. So coming back to the element of programming, we are talking about what you should know, what you should understand in developing your application, or to become a very good programmer. So to us, we classify this into 5 main key things, where we talk about the syntax, which are the rules that control or that govern the structure of statement or a grammar in a computer. And if you don't even understand syntax in the IT language, what it means, or the real world, what they mean is, it means a grammar. And grammar are rules that govern a language. The language we are going to speak here is C++ and C. When you bring it to the real world, language that people speak is about Hausa, English, French, and the rest. So that is what we are going to learn. And then we talk about the keywords. Keywords are reserved words that you are not supposed to use. We don't mention of the end, string, namespace. We have int main. If you want to type, we type. We have a word like return. You are not supposed to use the word like return. If you come to the real world, if you are in your house, there are some certain words that we teach our children to use, and there are words that we are not supposed to use. Example, when you tell your child, when you're speaking to someone who is older than you, just use the word please. But if you are if you use some words like F words, which I don't want to mention, is not accepted. So the same thing applies to learning the keywords. And then when we talk about the punctuation, these are the symbols that we use it to terminate our project, to tell the software that okay, we are ending our software, or full stop, so we are moving, or we want you to separate this information for me. So that is where we use these two symbols. So punctuation there is not anything much. The main problem is about the programmer defined identifier. Programmer is you, the software developer, trying to develop the software. What are some of the things you should know? We introduce ourselves to two basic things. That you are building a software, you should always know two things in your mind. That always know that are you what you're expecting from your client, the input. Are you expecting them to enter something for you? If you're expecting them to enter something for you, what you should understand is two things, either text or number. So what is your name? It's about text, and anything text in IT is called a string that I have highlighted. Okay, anything in numbering, for instance, how old are you in IT, it's int, which is the integer. Okay, there are a lot of data types that we can be mentioning, but for now we can't go detail as because we are going to do the practical. IT is not about reading. As I said, if you want to read, you can read all the books, but you need someone to guide you in order for you to get the practical feel of how the whole thing goes. When we go into detail, we go much into the variables, the identifiers, how you can define your own variables and manipulate your software to do what, or instruct your software to do what you need for yourself. So that is about the user defined, programmer defined identifiers. And we learned that if you want to display something in IT, this means see out, it means display. If you want to accept the string here, we mean is the answer we are expecting is a string. So before a client to talk, you have already think we already thought about it. So and when we come to the C in is about we are trying to accept something from the client. So you define a variable which is occupying your memory to accept those information and keep it to your memory. And I was giving you as an example that you are the variable where you are sitting to watch me. You are a variable occupying in a place. That is why we are also saying as a church that wherever you are occupying, try and possess that environment. Try and let your lifestyle win people for Christ, because it's all about champion the kingdom business, and that's why we are all here. So wherever you are occupying yourself, make sure that we win soul for Christ. And then we come to see out how old are you. This is int main. The int as we learn is about the integer. So I want to accept a number, so a number is about int. So keep it to your mind. When I'm a programmer, if I want to write a software which talks about string, every string is about, every text is about string, and every number is about integer. There are a lot of data type, but for now, for purpose of this second video or video 2, we want to just focus on this. As we go on, we introduce ourselves to a lot of them, and then we talk about operators. Basically, we say operators are symbols that we use in our programming environment or our programming language, and we classify all these symbols into 3, where we have 3 types of operators. We have the arithmetic, the logical, and then relational. The arithmetic is the normal mathematical calculation symbols that we know. This one is the multiplication symbol, this is the plus symbol, this is the subtraction or minus symbol, and this is the division symbol that we use. And then we use it for most of our calculation. In IT field, let me give some basic example how A plus B equals to C. So in IT, this is human language, human understand this. But we can also do the same thing like this, because the more your length, the more your code, the slower your application. So we want to make our work simple. So we can say A plus equals to C. This A plus equals to B. Yes, this is correct. Okay, but because this one, the way it is, if you pick this first one and you pick the second one, if you give it to your best maths teacher, a professor, he will definitely mark you the first one correct and tell you the second one, Charlie, my brother, you are wrong. But the truth is, this one is correct in IT field. This one might be wrong to extent that I don't like it because the code is too much, but this one is simple. At least I'm able to do away with one variable, so my code will run faster. This one of it, but when we go detail, you actually understand. So this is just an intro to what we have learned, because we are talking about arithmetic calculation. I will just want us to do simple calculation so that you see how the things goes. So logical operator, as I said, is about the and or not, and now we have seen the symbols, and I said the operators mostly work with the conditional statement or the conditions. If this meets or this happens, give me this. So when we talk about the end, the 2 conditions must be equal before you execute. If the mobile money deposit is not what you have deposit is not more than what you want to withdraw, don't execute the application. It's instruction the programmer has given to the application, and the end will be there. The end is that the deposit and the withdrawal, the deposit should be more than what you want to withdraw. So that is it. The all condition is if one is okay, execute for me. So when they send you to go and call Kofi or Amma, when you see Kofi come, Kofi must go. When you see Amma shoe can go. So either you see Kofi or you see Ama, any of them, when you call them, is okay for you. And then when we talk about the knot is, I don't even need it at all. I don't even need it at all. Whether one condition meet or two condition meet, I don't even need it. So that is it. So the last one is the relational operators, where we introduce ourselves to basic operators, and I said that this means equals to, this is less than, greater than, and then I try to explain a lot of things. As time goes on, we are going to introduce ourselves to a lot of IT languages. We are going to introduce ourselves to a lot of IT languages and things that we are going to use that makes the world okay. A word like when we go detail in programming field, we talk about like a word like flag or flags. When I use this as an example in our previous meetings, when you tell anybody about flags, the person will tell you is our normal flags that we are using. But when we are talking about this in IT environment, this means different thing to any IT person, because this one is a boolean, and boolean is true or false, and which is 1 or 0. I hope you get me right. So this is some of the things that we are going to do. Please organize yourself very well through your local district area. For now, we want you to organize in all this level so that we come there together. We learn the IT. IT is not about talking. If I tells you I'm a programmer, I should be able to prove myself to you practically. IT is not about talking. It's about what you can do. So organize yourself. Talk to your districts. Talk to your area. Let's come there together. We work together and then possess together. Thank you for your time, and God bless you for your time watching this video and your time with Pentecost IT Guild. If you have any other view, those of us watching us from outside the country, you can just, if you want to reach me in person, you can just type this number. That's +233 26588 7244. So that is my personal number. So you can just reach me and then we discuss. We are waiting for you to just organize yourself in your area level, and please, if you're organizing yourself, as I said it already, use the normal COP structure to organize yourself, because COP, we are the church that respect the protocols. Please let your presiding elder be aware, to your district pastor, your area head, and then officially they will communicate to us, and then we come to you. We are ready to work together. God bless all of you for being part of this training program. God bless you. Bye.